Imagine a forest, a really old forest, 9,000 years ago, somewhere in China. A man kneels next to some clay jars. The air smells sweet, a little bit strange. Something inside the jars is bubbling. He doesn't know why. He doesn't have a word for alcohol. He just knows that when he drinks a little of what's inside, something heavy in his chest feels lighter. He wasn't the first person to feel that, and guess what? Neither are we. Here's the wild part. People didn't just find alcohol by accident. Our bodies were actually built to handle it. A long, long time before we were even fully human. About 10 million years ago, our ancient animal-like ancestors got a tiny change inside their bodies. A little upgrade. Suddenly, their bodies became really good at breaking down a special chemical called ethanol, the stuff that makes old fruit in certain drinks feel different. Why would that happen? Think about it. In the forest, fruit falls off trees. It sits on the ground, it gets warm, it starts to rot just a little, and when fruit rots in a certain way, it makes ethanol. The animals that could eat that slightly too old, sweet-smelling fruit got extra food that other animals left behind. So our ancient ancestors didn't find alcohol. Their bodies were ready for it. Thousands of years later, people didn't just eat old fruit anymore. They started making drinks. The oldest proof comes from a place in China called Jiahu, about 9,000 years ago. People were mixing rice, wild grapes, berries, and honey, not by accident. They did it on purpose. They knew what would happen if they waited. This wasn't about staying alive. They had plenty of food. This was something else. Around the same time, in the Middle East, people were making drinks from grains. Some scientists now think that humans started farming partly because they wanted to make these special drinks, not just bread. That means farming, one of the biggest changes in all of human history, might have happened partly because people wanted a drink that made them feel good together. Not everyone agrees with this idea, but just the fact that smart people are talking about it changes how we see ourselves. Here's the brain science part, and it's actually pretty cool. Your brain has a built-in alarm system. It's always watching for danger, asking, is this safe? Is this person nice or scary? For ancient people living in a tough world, with wild animals, not enough food, and strangers from other groups, that alarm was running all the time. Special drinks turn the volume down on that alarm. And when the alarm gets quieter, something interesting happens. People sit closer together. They talk more. They laugh. They share food with people they'd normally be afraid of. In a world where strangers could be dangerous, being able to feel safe and make friends was a superpower. At a place called Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, the oldest temple in the world, built 11,000 years ago, scientists found big stone bowls. And inside those bowls, traces of a fermented drink. The oldest temple in the world might have also been a little bit like a brewery. Ancient Iraq had beer and places to hang out. An old song to a beer goddess talked about how special and sacred beer was. Ancient Egypt. People drank beer every day because it was safer than dirty water. They also used it in ceremonies. Ancient Greece had drinking parties where people shared ideas. Medieval villages had pubs. Every place, every time. Different drinks, different names, but the same feeling underneath. People needed somewhere they could relax and just be together. We often think of alcohol as something people use to run away, to feel less. But for ancient people, it was almost the opposite. It was a way to come closer, to feel like you belonged, to forget for a little while that you were alone, not a door to run out of, a door to walk into being with others. We live in a time with so much comfort, but also so much loneliness, more freedom and more worry than ever before. And yet, people everywhere still reach for these drinks. Maybe because the part of our brain that wants that first sip has been wanting it for 10 million years. Not because we want something bad, but because we remember something. A fire, a clay jar, the smell of something sweet and strange, the sound of people finally letting their guard down. Go back to that man in the forest, hands on a clay jar, sweet, strange smell in the air. He doesn't know that people thousands of years later will find his jars. He just knows that something heavy feels lighter. That feeling of wanting to put down your worries for a moment, of wanting to feel close to other people, that's not weird or weak. That's just being human. It was human 9,000 years ago. It's still human now.